Audiobooks presents The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. This timeless classic, written over a century ago, reveals a scientific approach to attracting wealth and abundance into your life. It has inspired countless modern self-help authors and thinkers, showing how to align your thoughts, actions, and gratitude with the universal laws of prosperity. Discover why this powerful book continues to transform lives, empowering you to achieve financial freedom, personal growth, and a fuller existence. Stay tuned to unlock the principles that can change your reality forever. Preface. A while ago, while looking for answers, I began to notice a name that almost every modern self-help and motivational author, including the author of The Secret, mentions as an inspiration: Wallace D. Wattles. 100 years ago, and in a period of just 3 years before a premature and suspicious death, Wallace wrote life guides to obtain wealth and, in the process, become extraordinary human beings. Out of curiosity, I got some of his works, and when I started to read them, my mind opened, and I finally understood truths that many years of university, experience, searching, or writing my own books had failed to clarify. I understood that although dozens of modern authors prescribe their thoughts to us, they are recycled and contaminated by their own ideas, in versions that have lost their essence. Since most of them focus on the part about how to make money, but lose sight of the why, which Wallace masterfully describes. Wallace envisioned a complete, healthy human being with purpose, living in harmony with their family and fellow human beings, and rich enough to enjoy all the good things in life. A human being capable of enjoying the things that the universal source, God, has made available and at the service of everyone, if we follow the basic rules that, time and time again throughout history, he has tried to communicate to us through messages and messengers, rules that many have taken, hidden, and manipulated in their insatiable quest for power. Over the next few months, I went back to his original writings and decided that his philosophy had to be shared and known by everyone. To do this, I compiled and translated his 3 main books, which I make available to you in a faithful and careful translation: The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of Being Great, or How to Be a Genius, and A New Christ. In this collection, you will notice that Wallace uses many terms to refer to God: universal mind, universal spirit, source of life. These terms tend to scare some religious people who consider it New Age, and, out of ignorance, disqualify writings that could shed new and perhaps more accurate light on their spiritual life. When Wallace wrote 100 years ago, the New Age did not exist. It was not a sin to call God the universal force behind everything, nor to call him infinite mind or intelligence, or the source of all life, or the eternal spirit that has no beginning or end. Wallace understood that humans have invented names for God throughout the ages, insisting on murdering those who dared to pronounce them differently. Therefore, by calling God by all these names, Wallace managed to make his knowledge accessible to all people, even those to whom the terms God or religion cause problems. His wisdom and the way he expresses it constitute a universal treasure that undoubtedly brings us closer to the eternal truth. The truth that something that is beyond our comprehension, and which we call by so many names, is in everything and everyone, no matter if we are rich or poor, religious or non-religious. Read the books with an open mind. When you have finished this collection, and if you have done so carefully and meditated on each of its phrases full of wisdom, you will undoubtedly be a better human being, on the path to wealth and becoming extraordinary. Introduction. This book is pragmatic, not philosophical. It is a practical manual, not a treatise of theories, It is aimed at men and women whose most pressing need is money, who want to become rich first and philosophize later. It is for those who want results and are willing to take the conclusions of science as the basis for their actions, without delving into the procedures by which those conclusions were reached. The reader must take the fundamental statements on faith, just as they would take the statements regarding a law of electrical action if they were promulgated by Marconi or Edison. By taking the statements on faith, they can prove their truth by acting on them without fear or doubt. Every man or woman who does this will certainly become rich, because the science applied here is an exact science and failure is impossible. The monistic theory of the universe, the theory that one is all and all is one, and that a single substance manifests as the apparently many elements of the material world, is of Hindu origin, and has been gradually gaining ground in Western thought for 200 years. It is the foundation of all Eastern philosophies and of those of Descartes, Spinoza, Leibniz, Schopenhauer, Hegel, and Emerson. The reader who wants to find the philosophical foundations of this should read Hegel and Emerson, and they would do well to read The Eternal News, an excellent pamphlet published by J.J. Brown in Scotland. They could also find help in a series of articles written by the author, published in Nautilus during the spring and summer of 1909, under the title, What is Truth? In writing this book, I have sacrificed all other considerations for the sake of simplicity and plainness of style, so that all may understand. The plan of action set forth here was deduced from the conclusions of philosophy. It has been thoroughly evaluated and has passed the supreme test of practical experiment. It works. Therefore, if you want to know how the book's conclusions were reached, read the authors mentioned above. And if you want to reap the fruits of this philosophy in actual practice, read this book and do what it tells you to do. Sincerely, Wallace D. Wattles. Chapter 1. Your Right to be Rich. No matter what is said in praise of poverty, the truth is that it is not possible to live a truly complete or successful life unless one is rich. No one can reach the highest potential of talent or soul development if they do not have enough money. To expand the soul and develop talents, many things are needed, and these things cannot be obtained unless you have the money to buy them. A person develops their mind, soul, and body by using things, and society is organized in such a way that you must have money to obtain things. Therefore, the basis of all progress must be the science of getting rich. The object of all life is progress, and every living being has an inalienable right to achieve all the development of which it is capable. The right to life means the right to freely use all things necessary for the maximum mental, spiritual, and physical development. In other words, it means the right to be rich. In this book, I will not talk about wealth in a figurative sense. To be truly rich does not mean to be satisfied or content with little. No one should be satisfied with little if they are capable of using and enjoying more. The purpose of nature is to promote and develop life, and everyone should have all that can contribute to the power, elegance, beauty, and richness of life. To be content with less is a sin. The person who possesses everything they want to live the full life they are capable of living is rich, and no one who does not have enough money can have all that they want. Life has progressed so much and has become so complex that even the most ordinary man or woman requires a great deal of wealth to live in a way that barely approaches fullness. Every human being desires to become all that they are capable of being. This desire to actualize their innate possibilities is inherent in human nature. We cannot help but want to be all that we can be. Success in life is to become what you want to be. This can be accomplished only by the use of things, and you can have free use of these things only as you become rich enough to buy them. Understanding the science of getting rich is Therefore, the most essential of all, knowledge. There is nothing wrong with wanting to get rich. The desire for wealth is, in fact, the desire for a more full, richer, and more abundant life, and it is therefore commendable. The one who does not desire a more abundant life is not normal, and therefore the one who does not desire to have enough money to buy everything they want is not normal. There are three motives for which we live. We live for the body, we live for the mind, and we live for the soul. None is better or holier than the other. All are equally desirable, and none, body, mind, or soul, can live fully if any of the others are denied their full life and expression. It is not just or noble to live only for the soul and deny the mind or the body, and it is a mistake to live for the intellect and deny the body or the soul. We all know the dreadful consequences of living for the body and denying the mind and soul. True life is the complete expression of all that a person can give through their body, mind, and soul. No one can be truly happy or satisfied unless their body lives fully in every function, and unless the same is true for their mind and soul. Wherever there is an unexpressed possibility or an unfulfilled function, there is an unsatisfied desire. Desire is a possibility seeking expression or a function seeking execution. You cannot live fully in body without good food, comfortable clothing, warm shelter, and without freedom from excessive toil. Rest and recreation are also necessary for physical life. You cannot have a full life in mind without books and time to study them, without the opportunity to travel and observe, or without intellectual companionship. For a full life in mind, we must have intellectual recreation and surround ourselves with all the objects of art and beauty that we are capable of using and appreciating. To live fully in the soul, you must have love. Poverty denies love its full expression. The greatest happiness is found in being able to give to those one loves, for love finds its most natural and spontaneous expression in giving. The one who has nothing to give cannot fill their place as a husband or father, as a citizen, or as a human being. In the use of material things, a person finds full life for their body, develops their mind, and liberates their soul. For all this, it is of supreme importance that every individual be rich. It is perfectly good for you to desire to be rich. If you are a normal man or woman, you cannot help but do so. It is perfectly correct that you give all your attention to the science of getting rich, because this is the most noble and necessary of all studies. If you neglect this study, you are abandoning your duties to yourself, to God, and to humanity, for you cannot render a greater service to God and to humanity than to make the most of yourself. Chapter 2. There is a science to getting rich. There is a science to getting rich, and it is an exact science, like algebra and arithmetic. The process of acquiring wealth is governed by certain laws, and once these laws are learned and obeyed, a person will become rich with mathematical certainty. The possession of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way, and those who do things in this certain way, whether on purpose or by accident, get rich, while those who do not do things in this certain way, no matter how hard they work or how capable they are, remain poor. By natural law, similar causes always produce similar effects. Therefore, any person who learns to do things in this certain way will infallibly get rich. That this is true is demonstrated by the following. First, getting rich is not a matter of environment, because if it were, all the people in certain places would get rich. The people of one city would all be rich, while others in other cities would all be poor. Or all the inhabitants of one state would wallow in riches while those of the neighboring state would be in poverty. But everywhere we see rich and poor living side by side, in the same environment and often in the same occupations. When two people are in the same locality and in the same business, and one gets rich while the other remains poor, it is evidence that getting rich is not primarily a matter of environment. It is true that some environments may be more favorable than others, but when two people in the same business are in the same neighborhood, and one gets rich while the other fails, it is shown that getting rich is a result of doing things in a certain way. Second, the ability to do things in this certain way is not due solely to the possession of talent, because many people with great talent remain poor, while others with little talent get rich. Studying the people who have become rich, we notice that they are an average group in all respects, with no superior talents or abilities to those of other people. It is evident that they do not get rich because they have talents and abilities that others do not, but rather because they do things in a certain way. Third, getting rich is not a result of saving or economizing. Many stingy people are poor, while spendthrifts often get rich. Fourth, getting rich is also not due to doing things that others do not, because two people in the same business frequently do exactly the same things, and one gets rich while the other remains poor or goes bankrupt. From all the above, it must be concluded that getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way. If getting rich is the result of doing things in a certain way, and if similar causes always produce similar effects, then anyone who can do things in that way can become rich, and the whole matter comes into the domain of an exact science. Here the question arises: is this certain way of doing things so difficult that only a few can follow it? This cannot be true as far as natural abilities are concerned. Talented people get rich, and dull-minded people get rich. Intellectually brilliant people get rich, and very foolish people get rich. Physically strong people get rich and weak, and sickly people get rich. Some degree of ability to think and understand is, of course, essential. But as far as natural ability is concerned, anyone with enough reasoning to read and understand these words can certainly get rich. We have also seen that it is not a matter of environment. Yes, location counts for something. You cannot go to the heart of the Sahara and expect to do successful business. Getting rich involves dealing with people and being where there are people to deal with. And if they are willing to deal in the way you want to deal, so much the better. But that is all that concerns the environment. If someone else in your city can get rich, you can too. And if someone in your state can get rich, you can too. Nor is it a matter of choosing a particular business or profession. People get rich in every business and in every profession, while the next-door neighbor in the exact same occupation remains poor. It is true that you will do better in a business that you like and that is in harmony with you, and if you have certain well-developed talents, you will do better in a business that involves using those talents. You will also do better if your business is in harmony with your location. An ice cream shop will be more successful in a hot climate than in Greenland, and you will do better fishing for salmon in the Northeast than in Florida, where there is no salmon. But apart from these general limitations, getting rich does not depend on being involved in a particular business, but on learning to do things in a certain way. If you are in a business and someone in your city is getting rich in the same business, and you are not, it is simply because you are not doing things in the same way as the other person. No one is prevented from getting rich by a lack of capital. It is true that when you have capital, growth becomes easier and faster. But someone who has capital is already rich and does not need to consider how to get rich. No matter how poor you are, if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will begin to get rich and have capital. Getting capital is a part of the process of getting rich and is a part of the result that invariably follows doing things in a certain way. You can be the poorest person on the continent and be terribly in debt. You may have no friends, influence, or resources, but if you begin to do things in a certain way, you will infallibly begin to get rich, because similar causes must produce similar effects. If you have no capital, you can get capital. If you are in the wrong business, you can get into the right business. If you are in the wrong place, you can go to the right place. And you can do all this, in your current business and location, by starting to do things in the certain way that always produces success. You must begin to live in harmony with the laws that govern the universe. Chapter 3. Is opportunity monopolized? No one remains poor because others have monopolized wealth and put a wall around it. Even if they can shut you out of certain lines of business, there are other channels open to you. The tide of opportunity moves in different directions at different periods, according to the needs of the whole and the particular state of social evolution that has been reached. Opportunities abound for those who go with the tide, instead of trying to swim against it. So, workers, either as individuals or as a class, are not deprived of opportunities. They are not being held down by their employers. They are not being punished by corporations and big businesses. As a class, they are where they are because they are not doing things in a certain way. The working class can become the ruling class when it begins to do things in a certain way. The law of wealth is the same for them as for the others. As long as they continue to do things the way they have, they will remain where they are. The individual worker, however, is not restricted by the fact that their entire class ignores these laws. They can follow the tide of opportunities towards wealth, and this book will tell you how. No one is kept poor because there is a scarcity in the supply of wealth. There is more than enough for everyone. A palace as large as the Capitol in Washington could be built for every family on Earth, just with the building materials available in the United States. Under intensive cultivation, this country would produce enough wool, cotton, linen, and silk to clothe every person in the world more finely than King Solomon in all his glory, and it would provide enough food for them to eat luxuriously. The visible supply is practically inexhaustible, and the invisible supply is truly inexhaustible. Everything you see on earth is made from one original substance, from which all things proceed. New forms are continuously being created, and old ones are dissolving, but they are all forms that a single thing assumes. The supply of unformed matter or original substance has no limit. The universe is made of this matter or substance, but not all of the available supply was used to create it. The spaces within, through, and between the forms of the visible universe are permeated and filled with original substance, with unformed matter, with the raw material of all things. 10,000 times more than has been made so far could still be created, and even then the supply of this raw material would not be exhausted. Therefore, no one is poor because nature is poor or because there is not enough to go around. Nature is an inexhaustible storehouse of wealth. The supply will never run out. The original substance is alive, full of creative energy and constantly producing more forms. When the supply of building materials runs out, more will be produced. When the soils are exhausted and can no longer produce food and materials, they will be renewed, or more soils will be created. When all the gold and silver have been excavated, if humanity is still in a state of social development that needs gold and silver, the unformed substance will produce more. The unformed substance responds to the needs of humanity. It will not let the world be without any of the good things. This is true of the human being collectively. The human race as a whole is abundantly rich. If individuals are poor, it is because they do not follow the certain way of doing things that makes the individual rich. Unformed matter is intelligent. It is thinking matter. It is alive and is always driven towards more life. The inherent and natural impulse of life is to procure more life. The nature of intelligence is to enlarge itself, and that of consciousness is to expand its boundaries and find full expression. The universe has been created by the unformed substance, which turns into forms to express itself more fully. The universe is a great living presence, always moving towards more life and towards a fuller functioning. Nature is created for the development of life, and the motive that drives it is to give more life. Because of this, everything that can give to life is generously provided. There can be no scarcity unless God contradicts himself and annuls his own creation. You do not remain poor because there is a scarcity in the supply of wealth. Later, I will demonstrate that the resources of the unformed substance are at the command of whoever acts and thinks in a certain way. Chapter 4. The first principle in the science of getting rich thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. The matter, or substance from which all things are made, is a thinking substance. This original substance moves according to thoughts, and thinking in a form produces that form in this substance. Every form and process we see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in the substance. When the substance thinks, it takes the form it thought of. When it thinks of a motion, it creates that motion. This is how all things are created. We live in a world of thought, which is part of a thought universe. The thought of a universe in motion was extended throughout the formless substance, and the thinking matter, moving according to that thought, took the form of systems of planets and maintains that form. The substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to that thought. By holding the idea of a system of suns and worlds that revolve, it took the form of these bodies and moves them in accordance with the thought. In other words, thinking of an oak tree does not cause the instant formation of a fully grown oak tree, but it sets in motion the forces that will produce the tree along established lines of growth. Every thought held in the thinking substance causes the creation of the form, but always, or at least generally, along pre-established lines of growth and action. Impressing on the formless substance the thought of a certain kind of house will not cause the instant formation of the house. What it causes is the turning of the creative energies already at work in the market and commerce into channels that result in the rapid building of the house. And if there were no channels through which creative energy could work, then the house would be formed directly from the original substance, without waiting for the slow processes of the organic and inorganic world. No thought in a form can be impressed on the original substance without causing the creation of that form. A person is a thinking center and can originate thought. Every form that a person designs with their hands must first exist in their thought. They cannot mold something until they have thought of it. Up to now, humanity has confined its efforts only to the work of its hands, applying manual labor to the world of forms to change or modify existing ones. Humanity has never thought of trying to cause the creation of new forms by impressing thoughts upon the formless substance. When someone has a creative thought, they take the forms in nature and make an image of the form that is in their mind. People have so far made little or no effort to cooperate with the formless intelligence, to work with the Father. They have not dreamed that they can do what they see the Father doing. They modify and give new forms to what exists with their manual labor, without paying attention to the question of whether they could produce things from the formless substance by simply communicating their thoughts to it. I propose to prove that we can do this, that any man or woman can do it. As a first step, I will give 3 fundamental propositions. First, there is an original formless substance or matter from which all things are made. All the apparently many elements are just different representations of a single element. All the multiple forms found in organic and inorganic nature are representations of the same substance. Thought in the thinking substance produces forms. A human being is a thinking center, capable of original thought. If a person manages to communicate these thoughts to the original thinking substance, they can cause the creation or formation of what they thought of. To summarize, there is a thinking matter from which all things are made and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing imagined by the thought. A person can create things in their thought, and by communicating their thought to the formless substance, they can cause what they have thought of to be created. You may wonder if I can prove these claims, and without delving into details, I answer that I can, both through logic and through experience. If I reason starting from the phenomenon of form and thought, I arrive at an original thinking substance. Reasoning from this substance, I arrive at the power of a person to cause that which they think of to be formed. I also find the reasoning based on experimentation to be true. My irrefutable proof is that if someone who reads this book becomes rich by doing what they are asked to do, it is evidence that supports my argument. But if everyone who does what they are asked to do gets rich, that is positive proof, until someone goes through the process and fails. The theory is true until the process fails. And this process will not fail for all those who do exactly what the book asks them to do to get rich. I have said that people get rich by doing things in a certain way, and to do this they must become capable of thinking in that certain way. The way a person does things is a direct result of the way they think about things. To do things the way they want to do them, they must acquire the ability to think in the way they want to think. This is the first step to becoming rich. And to think what you want to think is to think truthfully, regardless of appearances. Every individual has the natural and inherent power to think what they want to think. However, this requires more effort than is required to think in the way that appearances suggest. To think according to appearances is easy. To think in a truthful way despite appearances is difficult and requires more energy than anything else we do. There is no work from which more people desist than from consecutive and sustained thought. It is the most difficult work in the world. Every appearance in the visible world tends to produce a corresponding form in the mind of the observer, and this can be prevented only by maintaining the thought of the truth. Looking at the appearances, images or representations of illness will produce corresponding forms in your mind, and ultimately in your body, unless you hold fast to the truth that there is no disease and that reality is health. Looking at poverty will produce corresponding forms in your mind unless you hold fast to the truth that there is no poverty. There is only abundance. To think of health surrounded by images of illness, or to think of wealth in the midst of images of poverty, requires power. However, anyone who acquires this power becomes a master mind, and will be able to conquer destiny and have what they want. That power can only be acquired, A, by holding fast to the basic fact behind all appearances, that there is only one substance from which and by which all things are made. B, by holding fast to the truth that every thought in this substance becomes a form and that we can impress thoughts upon the substance in such a way as to cause these thoughts to become form and to become visible things. When we realize this, we cast aside all our doubts and fears, because we know that we can create what we want to create, we can have what we want to have, and we can become what we want to be. As a first step to getting rich, you must believe the fundamental statements set forth in this chapter. To emphasize them, I repeat them here. There is a thinking matter from which all things are made and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing imagined by the thought. A person can create things in their thought, and by communicating their thought to the formless substance, they can cause what they have thought of to be created. Set aside all other concepts of the universe and meditate on this until it is etched into your mind and becomes your habitual thought. Read these statements over and over again. Fix every word in your memory and meditate on them until you firmly believe what they say. If doubts come to you, put them aside as if it were a sin. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to places where a contrary concept is taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books that teach different ideas. If you get confused in your understanding, belief, and faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true or speculate on how they can be true. Just trust in them. The science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this. Chapter 5. Increasing Life. Get rid of every vestige of the old idea that it is God's will for you to be poor, or that His purposes are served if you remain in poverty. God, the intelligent substance that is all, that is in all, that lives in all, and also lives in you, is a consciously living substance. Being a living substance, it has the desire, natural to all living intelligence, to increase life. Every living thing must continually seek to grow or increase its life, because life, in the very act of living, must self-increase. A seed that falls on the ground bursts into activity, and in the act of living produces 100 more seeds. Life, by living, multiplies itself. It is forever becoming more. It must do so if it is to continue to exist. Intelligence has the same need for continuous increase. Every thought we have makes it necessary for us to have another thought. Consciousness is constantly expanding. Every talent we cultivate brings to mind the desire to cultivate another talent. We are subject to the urgency of life, seeking expression, which always leads us to know more, to do more, and to be more. To know more, to do more, and to be more, we must have more. We must have things to use because we learn, do, and are only by using things. We must get rich to be able to live more. The desire for riches is simply the capacity for a greater life seeking fulfillment. Every desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility to come into action. It is power in search of manifestation that causes desire. What makes you want more money is the same thing that makes a plant grow. It is life-seeking full expression. The one living substance is subject to this law inherent in all life. It is imbued with the desire to live more, and therefore has the need to create things. The one substance desires to live more within and through you, and for that reason it wants you to have all the things you can use. It is God's will that you get rich. He wants you to get rich because you can express yourself better through Him if you have enough things to use in expressing Him. He can live more within you if you have unlimited mastery of the means of life. The universe wants you to have everything you want to have. Nature is friendly to your plans. Everything is naturally for you. Accept in your mind that this is true. It is essential, however, that your purpose be in harmony with the purpose that is in all. You must desire real life, not merely pleasure or sensual gratification. Life consists of performing functions, and the individual truly lives only when they perform every function of which they are capable, physical, mental, and spiritual, without excess in any. You do not want to be rich to live like the animals, to gratify your animal desires. That is not life, but performing every physical function is part of life, and no one lives a complete life if they deny the impulses of their body a normal and healthy expression. You do not want to be rich only to enjoy mental pleasures, to obtain knowledge, to satisfy ambition, to overshadow others, to be famous. All of this is a legitimate part of life, but one who lives only for the pleasures of the intellect will have only a partial life and will never be satisfied with their lot. You do not want to be rich only for the sake of others, to lose yourself for the salvation of humanity, to experience the joy of philanthropy and sacrifice. The joys of the soul are only a part of life, and are no better or more noble than any other part. You want to get rich so you can eat, drink, and be happy when it's time to do these things. To be able to surround yourself with beautiful things, see distant lands, feed your mind, and develop your intellect. To be able to love others and do kind things and play an important role in helping the world find the truth. But remember that extreme altruism is no better or more noble than extreme selfishness. Both are mistakes. Get rid of the idea that God wants you to sacrifice for others, and that by doing so you secure His grace and favor. God does not need anything like that. What God wants is for you to make the most of yourself, for yourself and for others. And you can help others more by making the most of yourself than in any other way. You can make the most of yourself only by getting rich. So it is right and praiseworthy that you give your first and best thought to the work of acquiring wealth. However, remember that the desire of the substance is for everyone, and its movements must be toward more life for everyone. You cannot make it work to give less life to anyone because its life is equal in all, in the search for riches and life. The substance will do things for you, but it will not steal things from someone else to give them to you. Get rid of the idea of competitive thought. You are going to create, not compete for what has already been created. You do not have to take anything from anyone. You do not have to haggle excessively with anyone. You do not have to deceive or take advantage. You do not have to make someone work for less than they deserve. You do not have to covet the property of others or look at it with greedy eyes. No one has something that you cannot also have without needing to take it away from them. You must become a creator, not a competitor. You are going to get what you want, but in a way that, when you get it, every other person you influence will have more than they have now. It is true that many people get a lot of money by proceeding in direct opposition to the statements in the previous paragraph. But I would like to add a few words of explanation. The individuals who get rich by doing that do so sometimes only because of their extraordinary ability on the competitive plane. And sometimes, unconsciously, they are related to the purposes and movements of the substance aimed at general growth through industrial evolution. Rockefeller, Carnegie, Morgan, and others have been unconscious agents of the Supreme in the necessary work of systematizing and organizing productive industry, and in the end, their work contributed immensely to an improved life for everyone. But their days are numbered. They have organized production and will soon be superseded by others who will organize the machinery of distribution. They are like monstrous reptiles of prehistoric eras. They play a necessary role in the evolutionary process, but the same power that produced them will eliminate them. And if you analyze their lives, they were never really rich. A record of the private lives of most of their kind will show that they were rather vile and wretched. The riches obtained on the competitive plane are never satisfying and permanent. They are yours today and someone else's tomorrow. Remember that if you are going to get rich in a scientific and certain way, you must get out of competitive thought completely. You must never think for a moment that the supply is limited. As soon as you begin to think that all the money is being hoarded and controlled by others, that you must dedicate yourself to fighting for laws to stop this process, and so on. At that moment, you fall into the competitive mindset, and your power to cause creation moves away from you for that time. And even worse, you will probably stop the creative movements you have already begun. Know that there are countless millions in gold in the mountains of the earth that have not yet been discovered, and if there were none, more would be created from the formless substance to satisfy your needs. Know that the money you need will come, even if it is necessary for 1,000 men to be guided tomorrow to discover new gold mines. Never look at the visible supply. Always look at the unlimited riches in the formless substance, and know that they will come to you as fast as you can receive and use them. No one, even if they hoard the visible supply, can prevent you from receiving what is yours. So never allow yourself to think for an instant that, unless you hurry, all the best building lots will be taken before you are ready to build your house. Never worry about big businesses and corporations, or become anxious thinking that they will soon take over all the land. Never be afraid that you will lose what you want because another person is going to get there first. That cannot happen. You are not seeking something that is someone else's property, but rather causing what you want to be created from the formless substance, from the supply that has no limits. Hold fast to the following statement. There is a thinking matter from which all things are made and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. In this substance, a thought produces the thing imagined by the thought. A person can form things in their thought and, by impressing their thought upon the formless substance, can cause what they have thought of to be created. Chapter 6. How Riches Come to You. When I say you must not haggle too much, I do not mean that you must not look for bargains or that you are above the need to negotiate with others. What I mean is that you will not need to negotiate unfairly. You do not have to get something for nothing, but rather, give each person more than you take from them. You cannot give everyone more in monetary value than what you take from them, but you can give them more in use value than the monetary value of what you take from them. The paper, ink, and other materials in this book are not worth the money you paid for it, but if the ideas suggested in it bring you thousands of dollars, you were not deceived by the one who sold it to you. They gave you great use value in exchange for a small monetary value. Suppose I have a painting by a great artist that in a developed society is worth thousands of dollars. I take it to the Arctic, and through my skill as a salesman, I get an Eskimo to give me a bundle of furs valued at $500 in exchange for it. I have really deceived him because he has no use for the painting. It has no use value for him. It will not add anything to his life. But suppose I give him a $50 gun in exchange for the furs. That gun will give him many more furs and much more food. It will add to his life in every way. He made a good deal. It will make him rich. When you move from the competitive plane to the creative plane, you can examine your business transactions very strictly. And if you are selling things that do not add to the lives of others more than what they give you in return, you should stop. You do not have to affect anyone in business. If you are in a business that affects people, get out immediately. Give everyone more in use value than you take in monetary value. In this way, you will be adding more to the life of the world in every business transaction. If you have people working for you, you must take from them more in monetary value than what you pay them in salary. But you can organize your business to comply with the principle of progress, and thus every employee who wants to can progress a little every day. You can make your business do for your employees what this book is doing for you. You can manage your business so that it is a kind of ladder by which every employee who takes the trouble can climb by themselves toward wealth. If they are given the opportunity, and they do not do it, it will not be your fault. And finally, just because you are about to cause your riches to be created from the formless substance that permeates everything around you, this does not mean that the riches will be created out of nothing or from the atmosphere, and will appear before your eyes. If you want, for example, a sewing machine, I am not trying to tell you that you should impress the thought of a sewing machine on the thinking substance until the machine forms out of nothing in the room where you are or anywhere else. But if you want this machine, hold the mental image of it with the most positive certainty that the machine is being made or that it is already on its way. After forming the thought, have the most absolute and unquestionable faith that the machine is coming. Never think or talk about it in any other way than being sure that it will arrive. Affirm that the machine is already yours. It will be brought to you by the power of the Supreme Intelligence, acting upon the minds of people. If you live in Maine, someone may be brought from Texas or Japan to make a transaction that will result in you getting what you want. If this is the case, it will be for the benefit of that person as well as for yours. Do not forget that the substance is throughout everything, in everyone, communicating with everyone, and can influence everyone. The desire of the thinking substance for a fuller and better life has caused the creation of all existing sewing machines, and it can cause the creation of thousands more, and it will. When people put this in motion with desire and faith and by acting in a certain way, you can certainly have the sewing machine in your home, and this is as certain as that you can have any other thing or things you desire, which you will use for the progress of your own life and that of others. You do not need to hesitate when asking for abundance. It is the Father's pleasure to give you the kingdom, said Jesus. The substance wants you to live all that is possible for you and wants you to have everything you can use and will use to live the most abundant life. If you fix in your consciousness the fact that your desire for the possession of riches is one with the desire of the Supreme for a more complete expression, your faith becomes invincible. Once I saw a boy sitting at a piano trying in vain to get harmony from its keys. I saw that he was distressed and angry at his lack of ability to play real music. I asked him the cause of his irritation, and he answered, "I can feel the music in me, but I can't make my hands do it right." The music in him was the urgency of the original substance, enclosing all the possibilities of all life. All the music that exists was seeking to express itself through the boy. God, the one substance, is trying to live and do and enjoy things through humanity. He says, "I want hands to build beautiful structures, to play divine harmonies, to paint glorious pictures. I want feet to do my errands, eyes to see my beauties, tongues to speak powerful truths, and to sing wonderful songs." Everything that is possible is seeking expression through people. God wants those who can play music, to have pianos and any other instruments, and to have the means to cultivate their talents to the fullest expression. He wants those who can appreciate beauty to be able to surround themselves with beautiful things. He wants those who can discern the truth to have every opportunity to travel and observe. He wants those who can appreciate a dress to be adorned with beautiful clothes, and those who can appreciate good food to be luxuriously fed. And he wants all this because it is he himself who enjoys and appreciates them. They are his creation. It is God who wants to play instruments, and sing, and enjoy beauty, and proclaim the truth, and wear fine clothes and eat good food. It is God who works in you to desire and do, said Paul. The desire you feel for riches is the infinite seeking to express itself in you, as it sought to express itself in the boy at the piano. So do not hesitate to ask for a lot. Your task is to focus and express that desire to God. This is a difficult subject for most people. They still hold something of the old idea that poverty and self-sacrifice are pleasing to God. They see poverty as part of the plan, a necessity of nature. They have the idea that God has finished his work and did all he could, and that most people must remain poor because there is not enough for everyone. They hold on to this erroneous thought so much that they feel ashamed to ask for wealth. They try not to want more than a very modest capacity, just enough to make them comfortable. I had a student who had been told that he should have a clear idea in mind of the things he desired, so that the creative thought of the things could be impressed upon the formless substance. He was a very poor man, who lived in a rented house and had only what he earned day by day and could not understand the fact that all wealth was his. So, after thinking about the matter, he decided that he should reasonably ask for a new carpet for his best room and a coal stove to heat his house during the cold weather. Following the instructions in this book, he obtained these things in a few months, and then he understood that he had not asked for enough. He walked through the house where he lived and planned all the improvements he would like to make to it. He mentally added a window here and a new room there, until he completed it in his mind as his ideal house and then planned to furnish it. Holding the idea in his mind, he began to live in the certain way and to move toward what he wanted. Now he owns the house and is rebuilding it according to the shape of his mental image. And with even greater faith, he will continue toward better things. It was done to him according to his faith, and so it happens with you and with all of us. Chapter 7. Gratitude. The example in the last chapter will have conveyed to you that the first step to getting rich is to communicate the idea of your desires to the formless substance. This is true, and you will see that to do so it is necessary to relate to the intelligence in a harmonious way. Securing that harmonious relationship is so vital and primordial that I must discuss it and give you instructions that, if you follow them, will certainly lead you to a perfect harmony of mind with God, the supreme power. The whole process of mental adjustment and harmonization can be summarized in a single word: gratitude. First, you must believe that there is an intelligent substance from which all things proceed. Second, you must believe that the substance gives you everything you desire. And third, you relate to the substance through a feeling of deep and immense gratitude. Many people who order their lives correctly in all other fields remain poor because of their lack of gratitude. After receiving a gift from God, they cut the cable that connects them to Him, as they fail to make a recognition. It is easy to understand that the closer we live to the source of riches, the more wealth we will receive. It is also easy to understand that the soul that is always grateful lives in closer contact with God than the one who never turns to Him in gratitude. The more gratefully we fix our minds on God when good things come to us, the more good things we will receive and the faster they will come to us. The reason is simply that the mental attitude of gratitude brings the mind into close contact with the source from which blessings come. If it is a new thought to you that gratitude brings your mind into a closer harmony with the creative energies of the universe, consider it well, and you will see that it is true. The good things you already have come to you through obedience to certain laws. Gratitude will guide your mind through the way things come and will keep it in close harmony with creative thought and prevent it from falling into competitive thought. Only gratitude can keep you looking toward the whole and prevent you from falling into the error of thinking that the supply is limited, for doing so would be fatal to your hopes. There is a law of gratitude, and it is absolutely necessary that you follow it if you want to get the results you desire. The law of gratitude is the natural principle that action and reaction are always equal and in opposite directions. The thankfulness of your mind in grateful praise to the Supreme is a release of force. It cannot fail to reach that to which it has been directed, and the reaction is an instantaneous movement toward you. Come close to God, and He will come close to you. That is a statement of psychological truth, and if your gratitude is strong and constant, the reaction in the formless substance will be strong and continuous. The movement of the things you want will always be toward you, note the grateful attitude of Jesus, how he always seemed to say, "Thank you, Father, that you always hear me." You cannot exercise much power without gratitude, because it is this that keeps you connected to the power. But the value of gratitude does not only consist in giving you more blessings in the future. Without gratitude, you cannot avoid thoughts of discontent because things are the way they are. The moment you allow yourself to think in dissatisfaction that things are the way they are, you begin to lose ground because you fix your attention on the common, the ordinary, the poor, the squalid, and the bad, and your mind takes the form of these things. Then you will transmit these forms to the formless substance, and the common, the poor, the squalid, and the bad will come to you. Allowing your mind to think of the inferior is to become inferior and to surround yourself with inferior things. On the other hand, fixing your attention on the best is to surround yourself with the best and to become the best. The creative power in us turns us into the image of the things to which we give our attention. We are also made of the thinking substance, and it always takes the form of what is thought. The grateful mind is constantly fixed on the best. Therefore, it tends to become the best. It takes the form or character of the best and will receive the best. From gratitude, faith is also born. The grateful mind continually expects good things, and the expectation becomes faith. The reaction of gratitude upon our own mind produces faith, and every wave of thankfulness with gratitude that goes out from it increases faith. The person who has no sense of gratitude cannot maintain a living faith for very long, and without a living faith one cannot become rich by the creative method, as we will see in the following chapters. It is necessary, then, to cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you and to give thanks constantly. And in your gratitude, you should include everything, because all things have contributed to your advancement. Do not waste time thinking or talking about the flaws or wrongdoings of those in power. This form of world organization has created your opportunities. Everything you have is due to it in some way. Do not get angry with corrupt politicians. Without politicians, we would fall into anarchy, and your opportunities would be considerably reduced. God has worked for a long time and very patiently to bring us to where we are in industry and government, and He will continue with His work. There is not the slightest doubt that He will get rid of the plutocrats, tycoons, captains of industry, and politicians as soon as they can be dispensed with, but in the meantime, they are all necessary. Remember that they are helping to lay the transmission lines along which riches will come to you, and for that reason, be grateful. This will lead you to harmonious relationships with the good in everything, and the good in everything will move toward you. Chapter 8. Thinking in the Certain Way. Go back to Chapter 6 and reread the story of the man who formed a mental image of his house. This will give you a good idea of the initial step toward getting rich. Form a clear and definite image of what you want. You cannot convey an idea unless you have it. You must have it first. Many fail to impress the thinking substance because they only have a vague and blurry concept of the things they want to do, have, or be. It is not enough to have a general desire for riches to do good. Everyone has that desire. It is not enough to have the desire to travel, see things, live more, etc. Everyone has those desires. If you were to send a message to a friend, you would not send the letters of the alphabet in order for him to build the message himself, nor would you take random words from the dictionary. You would send a coherent sentence, one that means something. Likewise, when you try to send your desires to the substance, remember that you must do it with a coherent affirmation. You must know what you want and be specific and exact. You will never get rich or put your creative power into action by sending formless yearnings or vague desires. Examine your desires as the man I described did with his house. See what you want and have a clear mental image of it as you would like to see it when you get it. You must hold that clear image continuously. Just as the sailor keeps the port to which he is taking the ship in his mind, you must keep your face toward the image all the time. You must not lose sight of it. It is not necessary to do concentration exercises, nor to set aside special times for prayers and affirmations, nor to enter into silence, nor to perform hidden maneuvers of any kind. All of that is fine, but all you need is to know what you want and to desire it intensely so that it remains in your thoughts. Dedicate as much of your free time as you can to contemplating this image. No one needs to do exercises to concentrate their mind on something they really desire. Effort is required if you need to fix your attention on something you are not really interested in. And unless you really want to get rich, so that your desire is strong enough to overcome mental laziness and the love of ease, and put them to work, the instructions given in this book will not be useful to you. The method presented here is for people whose desire for riches is strong enough to overcome mental laziness and the love of ease, and put them to work. The clearer and more definite the image, and the more you meditate on it, thinking about all its charming details, the stronger your desire will be. And the stronger your desire, the easier it will be to keep your mind fixed on the image of what you want. But something more is needed than just looking at the clear image. If that's all you do, you are just a dreamer, and you will have little or no power of realization. Behind your clear image must be the purpose of realizing it, of turning it into tangible expression. And behind this purpose must be an invincible and unshakable faith that the object is already yours, that it is at hand, and that you only have to take possession of it. Live mentally in your new house until it takes physical form around you. In the mental realm, enter immediately into full enjoyment of the things you want. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours, said Jesus. See the things you want all the time, as if they were already around you. See yourself having and using them. Use them in your imagination, just as you would use them when they are your tangible possessions. Reside in your mental image until it is clear and distinguishable, and then take the mental attitude of possessing everything that is in that image. Take possession of it in your mind, with the full faith that everything is truly yours. Hold fast to this mental possession. Do not doubt the faith that it is real, even for an instant. And remember what was said in the previous chapter about gratitude. Be just as grateful for this all the time, as you expect to be the day everything takes form. The person who can sincerely thank God for the things they only have in their imagination so far possesses real faith. They will become rich. They will cause the creation of anything they want. You do not need to pray repeatedly for the things you want. It is not necessary to tell God every day. Your task is to intelligently formulate your desire for the things that allow for a greater life. Order this desire into a coherent whole, and then impress it upon the formless substance which has the power and the will to give you what you want. You cannot make this impression by repeating series of words. You do it by holding the vision with unshakable purpose to achieve it, and with the unalterable faith that you will achieve it. The answer to prayer is not given in accordance with your faith when you speak, but in accordance with your faith when you do or work. You cannot impress the mind of God by setting aside a special day, a Sabbath, to tell Him what you want, and then forgetting about it for the rest of the week. You cannot impress Him by having special hours for prayer, and then dismissing the matter from your mind until it is time to pray again. Prayer is good and has its effect especially on yourself, as it clarifies your vision and strengthens your faith. But it is not your oral requests that get you what you want. To get rich, you do not need a sweet hour of prayer. You need to pray without ceasing. And by praying, I mean holding fast to your mental image with the purpose of causing its creation in a solid form, and the faith that it will do so. Believe that you have received them. Once your vision or image is clearly formed, the whole matter shifts to receiving. After forming it, it is good to make an oral affirmation by addressing the Supreme in gratitude. Then, from that moment on, you must receive in your mind what you asked for. Live in the new house, put on fine clothes, drive the car, go on a trip, and confidently plan for even greater journeys. Think and express yourself about the things you asked for in terms of real possession. Imagine a setting and a financial condition exactly as you want them, and live all the time in that mental setting and in that financial condition until they take physical form. However, be careful not to do this as a mere dreamer and builder of castles in the air. Hold fast to the faith that the imaginary is being realized and to your purpose of realizing it. Remember that it is faith and purpose in the use of imagination that makes the difference between the scientist and the dreamer. And having learned this fact, it is here that you must learn the correct use of the will. Chapter 9. How to use the will. To begin to get rich in a scientific way, do not try to apply your willpower to anything outside of yourself. You have no right to do so. It is wrong to apply your will to others to get them to do what you want them to do. It is as wrong to force people with mental power as it is to force them with physical power. If you compel others to do things for you through physical force, you reduce them to slavery. To compel them with mental power means the same thing. The only difference is the methods. If taking things from people through physical force is stealing, taking them with mental power is also stealing. In principle, there is no difference. You have no right to use your willpower on others, not even for their own good, because you do not know what is good for them. The science of getting rich does not require applying the power of force on any other person in any way. There is no need to do so. In reality, any attempt to use your will on others will only cause your purpose to fail. Nor do you need to apply your will on things to compel them to come to you. That would simply be trying to force God and would be foolish and useless. You do not have to try to compel God to give you good things, as that would be like using the power of your will to make the sun rise. You do not have to use your will to conquer an unfriendly deity, or to make rebellious and stubborn forces fulfill your requests. The substance is your friend, and is more anxious to give you what you want than you are to receive it. To get rich, you only need to use your willpower on yourself. When you know what you have to think and what you have to do, then you must use your will to compel yourself to think and do the right things. That is the legitimate use of the will in getting what one wants. To use it to stay on the right course. Use your will to keep yourself thinking and acting in the certain way. Do not try to project your will, thoughts, or mind into space to act upon things or people. Keep your mind at home. The mind can accomplish more there than anywhere else. Use your mind to form an image of what you want and hold that vision with faith and purpose. Use your will to keep your mind working in the certain way. The firmer and more constant your faith and purpose, the more quickly you will become rich because you will only make positive impressions on the substance, and will not neutralize or unbalance them with negative impressions. The image of your desires, held with faith and purpose, is taken up by the formless substance and is permeated over great distances throughout the universe, through everything we know. And as this impression expands, all things begin to move toward its realization. Every living thing, every inanimate thing, and things that have not yet been created move to become what you want. all things begin to be induced in that direction. Everything begins to move toward you. The minds of people everywhere are influenced to do the things necessary for the fulfillment of your desires, and they work for you, unconsciously. It is as certain that doubt or disbelief initiate a movement that drives everything away from you, as it is that faith and purpose initiate a movement that draws everything toward you. It is by not understanding this that most people fail. Every moment you spend contemplating your doubts and fears, every hour you spend worrying, every hour your soul is possessed by disbelief, fixes a current of removal from you in the realm of the intelligent substance. All promises are for those who believe, and only upon them. Note how Jesus insisted so much on this point of faith. Now you know why he did. Since faith is what matters, you must care for your thoughts. As your faith will be shaped mostly by what you observe and think, it is important that you carefully control what you give importance to. And here the will comes into use, because it is through your will that you determine on what things you will fix your attention. If you want to get rich, do not study poverty. Things do not materialize by thinking about their opposites. Health is never achieved by studying and thinking about diseases. Righteousness is not promoted by studying and thinking about sin. And no one ever got rich by studying and thinking about poverty. Medicine, as a science of disease, has increased it. Religion, as a science of sin, has promoted sin, and economics, as the study of poverty, will fill the world with misery and want. Do not talk about poverty. Do not research it or worry about it. Do not give importance to the causes that originated it. You can do nothing about it. Do not spend your time on charitable movements. Most charity tends to perpetuate the misery it tries to eradicate. I am not saying you should be hard-hearted or cruel and refuse to hear the cry of need, but you should not cry to eradicate poverty in any of the conventional forms. Put poverty and everything that belongs to it behind you and do good. You cannot maintain the mental image of getting rich if you fill your mind with images of poverty and all the evils it entails. Do not read books or newspapers that give statistics of misery, of the horrors of child labor, etc. Do not read anything that fills your mind with terrible images of need and suffering. You cannot help the poor in the slightest just by knowing these things. And having a broad knowledge of them does not tend at all to get rid of poverty. What tends to get rid of poverty is not having images of poverty in the mind, but rather that poor minds have images of wealth, abundance, and possibility. You are not abandoning the poor in their misery when you refuse to allow your mind to be filled with images of that misery. Poverty can be ended not by increasing the number of good-hearted people who think about poverty, but by increasing the number of poor people who propose with faith to become rich. What should matter to you is the cure. Become rich. That is the best way to help the poor. The poor do not need charity. They need inspiration. Charity only gives them a piece of bread to keep them alive in their misery, or gives them entertainment to make them forget for a while. But inspiration can make them get out of their misery. If you want to help the poor, show them that they can become rich. Prove it by getting rich yourself. The only way to eradicate poverty is by getting a large number of people to practice the teachings of this book. People must be taught how to get rich through creation, not by competition. Every person who gets rich through competition tears down the ladder that helped them climb and keeps others down. But every person who gets rich through creation opens a path and inspires thousands to follow it. You do not show a hard heart or a cruel disposition by refusing to pity poverty, to see poverty, to read about poverty, to think or talk about it, or to listen to those who talk about it. Use your willpower to keep your mind turned off to the subject of poverty and keep it fixed with faith and purpose, on the vision of what you want and are creating. Chapter 10. Advanced Use of the Will. You cannot maintain a clear and true vision of wealth if you constantly pay attention to opposing images, whether external or imaginary. Do not recount your past financial problems if you had them. Do not think about them. Do not talk about your parents' poverty or the difficulties of your life. Doing this is mentally classifying yourself as poor and will certainly change the movement of things in your direction. "Let the dead bury their dead," said Jesus. Leave poverty and all the things that belong to it completely behind you. You have accepted a theory of the universe as correct, and all your hopes for happiness are based on it being correct. What can you gain by paying attention to conflicting theories? Do not read books that tell you the world is coming to an end, nor read writings by alarmist and pessimistic philosophers who say we are going to the devil. The world is not going to the devil. It is going to God. It is a wonderful transformation. It is true. There may be many unpleasant things in current conditions, but what is the point of studying them when they are already on their way out? And when your study only tends to keep them with us and slow their disappearance? Why give time and attention to things that evolutionary growth is eliminating if you can accelerate their disappearance by simply doing your part in promoting evolutionary growth? No matter how horrible conditions may seem in certain countries, sectors, or places, if you meditate on them, you waste your time and destroy your own possibilities. What you must do is be interested in the world that is getting rich. Think about the riches the world is heading toward instead of the poverty it is leaving. And keep in mind that the only way you can help the world increase its riches is by getting rich yourself through the creative method and not the competitive one. Fix your attention only on wealth. Do not concentrate on poverty. When you think or talk about the poor, think and talk as if they were getting rich and as if they should be congratulated for it, instead of feeling sorry for them. They and others will take that inspiration and begin to seek a way out. By saying that you must dedicate your time, thoughts, and mind to riches, it does not mean that you are being mean or wicked. To become truly rich is the most noble aspiration you can have in your life, because it includes everything else. On the competitive plane, the struggle to get rich is an unholy fight for power over others. But when it comes to the creative mind, all of this changes. Everything that is possible through greatness, service, and higher tasks comes from getting rich, because everything becomes possible through the use of things. You cannot aspire to anything greater and more valuable than getting rich, and you must fix your attention on your mental image of wealth, excluding everything that may tend to obscure or cloud that vision. You must learn to see the underlying truth in all things. You must see beneath all apparently wrong conditions the great one life that is advancing toward a more complete expression and happiness. There is no such thing as poverty. Only wealth exists. Some remain poor because they are ignorant of the fact that there is wealth for them. You can teach them by showing them the way of affluence in your own person and in your own practice. Others are poor because even though they feel there is a way out, they are too intellectually lazy to put in the necessary mental effort to find the way and walk it. The best thing you can do for them is to awaken their desire by showing them the happiness that comes from getting rich in the certain way. And others, although they have some notion of this science, remain poor because they have become bogged down and lost in the labyrinth of metaphysical theories and do not know which way to go. They try a mix of many systems and fail at all of them. The best thing you can do for them is to show them the right way with your own example and practice. You cannot serve God and the world more effectively than by getting rich. That is, if you get rich by the creative method and not the competitive one. An ounce of practice is worth more than a pound of theory. The best thing you can do for the world is to make the best of yourself. One more thing. We maintain that this book gives in detail the principles of the science of getting rich, and if this is true, you do not need to read any other book on the subject. This may seem narrow-minded and selfish, but consider, in mathematics, there is no other scientific method of calculation than addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. There is no other possible method. There is only one shortest distance between 2 points. Only one way to think scientifically, and that is to think in the way that leads to the most direct and simple route to reach the goal no one has yet formulated a system more concise or less complex than the one proposed here, as everything not fundamental has been eliminated from it. When you begin with this, set all others aside and get them out of your mind once and for all. Read this book every day. Keep it with you. Memorize it, and do not think about other systems and theories. If you do, you will begin to have doubts, to be insecure, and to hesitate in your thinking, and you will begin to fail. After you have done well and have become rich, you can study all the other systems as much as you want. Read only the most optimistic commentaries on world news, those in harmony with your created image. Stop studying occult sciences. Do not get into theosophy, spiritualism, or related studies. It is probable that the dead still live and are close, but if so, leave them in peace. Worry about your own things. Do not get involved in what does not concern you. Wherever the spirits of the dead are, they have their own work to do, and we have no right to interfere with them. We cannot help them, and it is doubtful that they can help us, or that if they could, we would have the right to violate their time. Leave the dead and the beyond in peace and solve your own problem, getting rich. If you begin to get involved with the occult, you will start a crossing of mental currents that will surely shipwreck your hopes. Now, this and the previous chapters have led us to the following statements of basic facts. There is a thinking substance from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. In this substance, a thought produces the thing imagined by the thought. A person can form things in their thought and, by impressing their thought upon the formless substance, can cause that which they have thought to be created. To do this, the person must pass from the competitive mind to the creative mind. They must form a mental image of the things they want and hold this image in their thoughts with the firm purpose of obtaining what they want, and the unshakable faith that they will obtain what they want, closing their mind against everything that may tend to break their purpose, cloud their vision, or extinguish their faith. And in addition, they must live and act in a certain way. Chapter 11. Acting in the Certain Way. Thought is the creative power or the motivating force that makes the creative power act. Thinking in the certain way will bring you riches. However, you cannot rely only on thought and leave personal action aside. This is where many thinkers who are considered scientific fail. They fail to connect thought with personal action. We have not yet reached the stage of development, assuming such a stage is possible, in which things can be created directly from the formless substance without the intervention of natural processes or the work of human hands. A person must not only think, but their personal action must complement their thought. With thought you can cause the gold in the heart of the mountains to be sent to you, but it will not be extracted, refined, and converted into coins by itself, nor will it come rolling down the streets looking for a way to get into your pockets. Under the motivating force of the Supreme, the projects of others will be ordered in such a way that someone will be guided to extract the gold for you. The business transactions of others will be directed so that the gold reaches you, and you must order your own business affairs to be able to receive it when it comes to you. Your thought causes all things animate and inanimate to work to bring you what you want. But your own personal activity must be such that you can legitimately receive what you want when it comes to you. You must not take it as charity or steal it. You must give each person more in use value than they give you in monetary value. The scientific use of thought consists of A, forming a clear and distinct mental image of what you want. B, holding fast to your purpose of obtaining what you want. C, acting in the certain way, with grateful faith that what you want will be received. Do not try to project your thought in mysterious or hidden ways, with the idea that it will go and do things for you. That is a waste of effort and will weaken your power to think sanely. The action of thought to get rich is clearly explained in the previous chapters. Your faith and purpose positively impress your vision upon the formless substance, which has the same desire for more life. The vision or image you send puts all creative forces to work within and through their regular channels of action, but directed to you. Your task is not to guide or supervise the creative process. All you have to do is hold your vision, hold fast to your purpose, and maintain your faith and gratitude. But you must act in the certain way so that you can take what is yours when it comes to you, and so you can find the things you have in your image and put them in the right places as they arrive. When things come to you, they will be in the hands of others who will ask for an equivalent from you for them. And you can only get what is yours by giving the other what is legitimately theirs. Your wallet is not going to turn into the mythological purse of the goddess of fortune, which will always be full of money without any effort from you. This is the crucial point in the science of getting rich. This is where thought and personal action must be combined. There are many people who, consciously or unconsciously, put the creative forces into action with the strength and persistence of their desires, but who remain poor because they do not prepare to receive the things they want when they arrive. With thought, what you want is attracted to you. With action, you receive it. Whatever your action must be, it is evident that you must act now. You cannot act in the past, and it is essential for the clarity of your mental vision that you get the past out of your mind. You cannot act in the future because the future has not yet arrived. And you cannot know how you will want to act in a future eventuality until it has arrived. If you are not in the right business or environment now, do not think that you must postpone action until you find the right business or environment. And do not waste time in the present, thinking about how you are going to solve future emergencies. Have faith in your ability to face emergencies when they arrive. If you act in the present with your mind in the future, you will carry out your present action with a divided mind, and it will not be effective. Put all your mind into the present action. Do not give your creative impulse to the original substance only to then sit and wait for the results, or you will never get anything. Act now. There is no better time than now. If you are ever going to start preparing to receive what you want, you must start now. And your action, whatever it may be, must probably be in your current business or job and on people and things in your current environment. You cannot act where you are not. You cannot act where you have been, and you cannot act where you are going to be. You can only act where you are. Do not fret about whether yesterday's work was done well or not. Do today's work well. Do not try to do tomorrow's work now. There will be enough time to do it when it's your turn. Do not try by occult or mystical means to act on people or things that are out of your reach. Do not expect your environment to change before you act. Change the environment with your action. You can act on the environment you are in now in such a way as to cause yourself to be transferred to a better environment. Hold with faith and purpose the vision of yourself in a better environment. But act on your present environment with all your heart, with all your strength, and with all your mind. Do not spend time daydreaming or building castles in the air. Hold to the vision of what you want and act now. Do not launch yourself looking for a new thing to do, nor execute some strange, unusual, or remarkable action as a first step to getting rich. It is likely that your actions, at least for some time, will be the same ones you have done in the past. But you must begin to carry out these actions in a certain way, which will surely make you rich. If you are in a business that you feel is not the right one, do not wait to find the right one to start acting. Nor should you feel discouraged or sit around lamenting that you are in the wrong place. No one is so badly placed that they cannot find the proper place, nor so stuck in the wrong business that they cannot get into the right business. Hold the vision that you are in the right business with the purpose of getting to it, and the faith that you will get to it and are doing it. But act in your present business. Use your current business as a means to get a better one, and your current environment as a means to get to a better one. If you hold your vision of the right business with faith and purpose, you will cause the Supreme to bring it to you, and your action, if done in the certain way, will cause you to move toward that business. If you are an employee or a salaried worker, and you feel you must change places to get what you want, do not project your thought into space and rely on it to get you another job. You will probably fail in doing so. Hold a vision of yourself in the job you want while acting with faith and purpose in the job you have, and you will certainly get the job you want. Your vision and faith will set the creative force in motion to bring it to you, and your action will cause the forces in your own environment to move you toward the place you want. Closing this chapter, we will add another statement to our summary. There is a thinking substance from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. In this substance, a thought produces the thing imagined by the thought. A person can form things in their thought and, by impressing their thought upon the formless substance, can cause that which they have thought to be created. To do this, a person must pass from the competitive mind to the creative mind. They must form a mental image of the things they want and hold this image in their thoughts with the firm purpose of obtaining what they want and the unshakable faith that they will obtain what they want, closing their mind against everything that may tend to break their purpose, cloud their vision, or extinguish their faith, so that they can receive what they want when it comes. A person must act now on the people and things in their current environment. Chapter 12. Efficient Action. You must use your thought as instructed in the preceding chapters and begin to do what you can do where you are. Do everything you can do where you are. You can only advance if you are larger than the place where you are, and no one is larger than their present place if they leave the work of that place undone. The world advances only for those who entirely occupy their present place. If no one fully occupied their place, there would be a regression in everything. Those who do not fully occupy their present places are a dead weight in society, government, commerce, and industry, as they must be carried by others at great cost, and they slow down the progress of the world. They belong to an old era, to a previous stage of development, and their tendency is toward degeneration. No society could advance if everyone were smaller than their present place. Social evolution is guided by the law of physical and mental evolution. In the animal world, evolution is caused by excess of life. If an organism has more life than it can express in the functions of its own level, it develops the organs of a higher plane, and a new species is originated. There would have been no new species were it not for organisms that fully occupied their places. The law is the same for you. Getting rich depends on applying this principle to your own business. Every day can be a success or a failure, and it is the successful days that get you what you want. If every day is a failure, you can never get rich. But if every day is a success, you cannot fail to get rich. If there is something that can be done today, and you do not do it, you have failed as far as that is concerned, and the consequences can be more disastrous than you imagine. You cannot foresee the results of even the most trivial act, for you do not know the actions of all the forces that have been set in motion in your favor. Much may depend on your doing some simple act, and it may be that exact thing that opens the door of opportunity to great possibilities. You will never know all the combinations that the Supreme Intelligence is making for you in the world of things and of human affairs. Your negligence or failure to do some small thing can cause a great delay in obtaining what you want. Do, every day, everything you can do that day. But keep in mind a limitation or qualification of the above. You must not work excessively, nor rush blindly into your business in an effort to do the greatest number of things in the shortest possible time. You must not try to do tomorrow's work today, nor do a week's work in one day. What counts is not the number of things you do, but the efficiency of each action. Every act is, in itself, a success or a failure. Every act is, in itself, effective and efficient, or ineffective and inefficient. Every ineffective act is a failure, and if you spend your life doing ineffective acts, your life will be a failure. If all your acts are inefficient, the more things you do, the worse for you. On the other hand, every efficient act is a success in itself, and if every act of your life is efficient, your whole life will be a success. The cause of failure is doing too many things in an inefficient way and not doing enough in an efficient way. E. Auto-evident proposition is that if you do not do any inefficient acts, and if you do a sufficient number of efficient acts, you will become rich. If it is possible for you to make every act a success, you will see again that getting riches is reduced to an exact science, just like mathematics. The question now turns to whether you can make every act a success. Certainly, you can. You can make every act a success because all power is working with you, and all power cannot fail. The power is at your service, and to make every act efficient, you only have to put the power into it. Every action can be strong or weak, and when an action is strong, you are acting in the correct way that will make you rich. Every act can be made strong and effective by holding your vision while doing it and putting all the power of your faith and purpose into it. It is at this point that people who separate mental power from mental action fail. They use the power of the mind in one place and time, and act in another way, in another place, and at another time. So their acts are not successful. Many are inefficient. But if all power goes into every act, no matter how common it is, every act will be a success. And as the nature of things is that every success opens the way to other successes, your progress toward what you want and the advance of what you want toward you will become faster and faster. Remember, successful action has cumulative results, as the desire for more life is inherent in everything. When someone begins to move toward more things join him, and the influence of this desire is multiplied. Do, every day, everything you can during that day and in an efficient way. By saying that you must hold your vision while doing every act, whether trivial or common, I do not mean that it is necessary all the time to see the vision clearly down to its most minute details. It should be the work of your hours of rest to use your imagination on the details of your vision and contemplate them until they are firmly fixed in your memory. If you want quick results, employ practically all your free time in this practice. By means of continuous contemplation, you will cause the image of what you want, down to its most minute details, to be so firmly fixed in your mind, and so completely transferred to the mind of the formless substance, that in your working hours you will only need to refer mentally to the image to stimulate your faith and purpose and cause your best effort to be put forth. Contemplate your image in your hours of rest until your consciousness is so full of it that you can grasp it instantly. You will feel so enthusiastic about its brilliant promises that the mere thought of them will attract the strongest energies of your whole being. Let us repeat our summary again, and by slightly changing the final statements, we will bring it to the point we have reached. There is a thinking substance from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. In this substance, a thought produces the thing imagined by the thought. A person can form things in their thought and, by impressing their thought upon the formless substance, can cause that which they have thought to be created. To do this, a person must pass from the competitive mind to the creative mind. They must form a mental image of the things they want and must do, with faith and purpose, everything they can do that day, doing each thing in an efficient way. Chapter 13. Getting into the right business. Success in any business depends first on having the required aptitudes for that business well developed. Without good musical aptitude, no one will succeed as a music teacher. Without developed mechanical aptitudes, no one can achieve great success in any of the branches of mechanics. Without tact and commercial aptitudes, no one can succeed in a mercantile profession. But having well-developed aptitudes for your particular vocation do not assure you of getting rich. There are musicians with remarkable talent who are poor. There are blacksmiths, carpenters, and many others with excellent mechanical ability who are not rich. And there are merchants with good skills for dealing with people who, nevertheless, fail. The different aptitudes are tools. It is essential to have good tools, but it is also essential to use them in the right way. One person can take a sharp saw, a square, a good plan, etc., and build a beautiful piece of furniture. Another can take the same tools and work to duplicate this item, but their product will be a disaster, as they do not know how to use the good tools successfully. The different aptitudes of your mind are the tools with which you must do the work that will make you rich. And for this reason, it will be easier for you to succeed if you enter the business for which you are well equipped with mental tools. Generally, you will do better in the business in which you must use your best aptitudes, the one for which you are best suited. But there are also limitations to this statement. No one should consider their vocation as irrevocably unchangeable due to the tendencies with which they were born. You can get rich in any business, because if you do not have the adequate talent, you can develop it. It simply means that you will have to make your tools as you go, instead of limiting yourself to using those with which you were born. It will be easier for you to succeed in a vocation for which you already have the talents in a well-developed manner, but you can succeed in any vocation, because you can develop any rudimentary talent. And there is no talent of which you do not have at least the rudiment. While you will get rich more easily in terms of effort if you do that for which you were best equipped, you will get rich more satisfactorily if you do what you want to do. Doing what you want to do is life, and there is no real satisfaction in living if we are forever obliged to do something we do not like and can never do what we want to do. And you can do what you want to do. The desire to do it is proof that you have within you the power that can do it. Desire is the manifestation of power. The desire to play music is the power to play music seeking expression and development. The desire to invent mechanical devices is the mechanical talent seeking expression and development. Where there is no power to do something, developed or undeveloped, there will never be the desire to do it. But where there is a strong desire to do something, that is proof that the power to do it is strong. and it requires being developed and applied in the right way. If all other conditions are equal, it is better to select the business for which you have the most developed talents. But if you have a strong desire to dedicate yourself to a certain job in particular, you should select that job as the final goal you want to reach. You can do what you want to do, and it is your right and privilege to follow the business or vocation that is most congenial and pleasant to you. You are not obliged to do what you do not want to do, and you should not do it unless it leads you to do the things you do want to do. If there are past errors whose consequences have you in an undesired business or environment, you may be obliged for a time to do something you do not like to do. However, you can make doing it pleasant if you know that it will be possible for you to get to do what you want to do. If you feel you are not in the right vocation, do not act in a rush trying to get into another one. Generally, the best way to change business or environment is through growth. But do not be frightened to make a radical and sudden change if the opportunity presents itself, and you feel, after thinking it over carefully, that it is the right time. But never take radical or sudden actions when you have doubts as to the wisdom of doing so. There is never any hurry on the creative plane, and there is no lack of opportunity. When you get out of the competitive mind, you will understand that you will never need to act rashly. No one is going to take away what you want to do. There is enough for everyone. If one spot is taken, a better one will open up for you a little further on. There is plenty of time. When in doubt, wait. Dedicate yourself to contemplating your vision and increase your faith and purpose. Anyway, in times of doubt and indecision, cultivate gratitude. A day or two dedicated to contemplating the vision of what you want, and in fervent gratitude that you will get it, will cause your mind to enter into such a close relationship with the Supreme that you will not make mistakes when you act. There is a mind that knows everything there is to know. If you have deep gratitude, you can enter into intimate unity with this mind through faith and the purpose of advancing in life. Errors come from acting hastily or from acting with fear, doubt, or forgetting the right motive of giving more life to everyone and less to none. As you advance in the certain way, opportunities will come in increasing numbers, and you will need to be very firm in your faith and purpose, and to maintain close contact with the Supreme Mind through reverent gratitude. Do everything you can in a perfect way every day, but do it without worry, haste, or fear. Go as fast as you can, but never rush. Remember that the moment you start to rush, you cease to be a creator and become a competitor. You fall back to your old level. When you notice yourself rushing, stop. Fix your attention on the mental image of what you want and begin to give thanks because you are getting it. The exercise of gratitude will never fail to fortify your faith and renew your purpose. Chapter 14. The Impression of Increase. Regardless of whether you're going to change your vocation or not, your actions in the present must be those that relate to the business in which you are engaged now. You can get into the business you want by making a constructive use of the business you are already in, by doing your daily work in the certain way. And to the extent that your business consists of dealing with others, the key thought of all your efforts must be to transmit to the minds of others the impression of increase. Every person seeks increase. It is the infinite intelligence in them in its search for full expression. The desire for increase is innate in all of nature. It is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activity is based on the desire for increase. People seek more food, more clothes, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure, the increase in something, more life. Every living being feels this continuous need to advance. When the impulse ceases, dissolution and death arrive immediately. We know this instinctively, and that is why we always seek more. This law of perpetual increase was established by Jesus in the parable of the talents. For to him who produces more, more will be given, and he will have in abundance. But from him who does not produce, even what he has will be taken away. The normal desire for greater wealth is not a devil, nor is it reprehensible. It is simply the desire for a more abundant life. It is aspiration. And because it is the deepest instinct of their nature, every person is attracted to those who can give them more means of living. By following the certain way described in this book, you achieve a continuous increase for yourself, and you are giving it to all those you deal with. You are a creative center from which increase is given to everyone. Be certain and transmit assurance of this fact to every man, woman, and child with whom you come into contact. No matter how small the transaction, even if it is selling a candy to a child, put a thought of increase into it and make sure the customer receives that impression. Transmit an impression of advancement with everything you do, so that all people receive the impression that you are a personality of progress and that all who deal with you advance, even to those you know socially, without thinking about business or trying to sell them something. Give them a thought of increase. You can transmit this impression by holding a firm faith that you are on the path of increase, and by allowing this faith to inspire, fill, and permeate every action. Do everything you do with the firm conviction that you are a personality of progress and that you are giving progress to everyone. Feel that you are getting rich and also making others rich and benefiting everyone. But do not boast or brag about success or talk about it unnecessarily. True faith is never arrogant. Wherever you find an arrogant person, there is someone insecure and fearful. Simply feel the faith and let it work in every transaction. Let every act, tone, and look express the silent assurance that you are getting rich, that you are already rich. Words will not be necessary to communicate this feeling to others. They will perceive the feeling of increase within your presence and will be attracted to you. You must impress others so much that they will feel that by associating with you, they will obtain increase for themselves. Make sure you give them a greater use value than the monetary value you take from them. Be honestly proud of doing this and let everyone know it, and you will not lack for customers. People will go where they are given increase, and the Supreme, who desires increase in everyone and who knows everyone, will move men and women toward you who have never heard of you before. Your business will grow quickly and you will be surprised by the unexpected benefits that will come to you. You will be able to do greater business day by day, you will secure greater benefits, and you will be able to move on to a more suitable vocation if you so desire. But in doing this, you must never lose sight of the vision of what you want, or the faith and purpose of having what you want. Let me give you another warning here regarding motives. Be careful with the biased temptation to seek power over others. Nothing is so pleasant to the immature or partially developed mind as to exercise power or dominion over others. The desire to rule for one's own gratification has been the curse of the world. For countless ages, kings and lords soaked the earth with blood in their battles to extend their domains, not to seek more life for everyone, but to have more power for themselves. The main motivation in the commercial and industrial world remains the same. Men gather their armies of dollars and ruin lives and the hearts of millions in the same maniacal chaos to have power over others. Commercial kings, just like political kings, are inspired by the lust for power. Do not fall into the temptation to seek authority, to become a master, to be considered above the herd, to impress others with the display of luxuries, etc. The mind that seeks to rule over others is the competitive mind, and the competitive mind is not creative. To rule your environment and your destiny, it is not necessary to reign over others, and in truth, when you fall into the world's struggle for the highest positions, you begin to be conquered by destiny and the environment, and your getting of riches becomes a matter of luck and speculation. Be careful with the competitive mind. This statement cannot be formulated better than as Jones of Toledo did in his last Golden Rule. What I want for myself, I want for others. Chapter 15. The Advancing Personality. What was said in the last chapter applies as much to a professional, a wage earner, a salesman, and to any other form of business. It does not matter if you are a doctor, teacher, or clergyman. If you can give an increase of life to others and make them conscious of this truth, they will be attracted to you and you will become rich. The physician who holds the vision of himself as a great and successful healer, and who works toward the full realization of that vision with faith and purpose, as described in preceding chapters, will enter into such a close relationship with the source of life that he will be phenomenally successful. Patients will come in droves. No one has a better opportunity to carry out the teachings of this book than the physician, no matter to what school he belongs, because the principle of healing is common in all, and can be attained by all alike. The advancing man in medicine who holds the mental image of himself as successful, and who obeys the laws of faith, purpose, and gratitude, will heal every curable case he attends. In the religious field, the world cries out for clergymen who can teach the true science of the abundant life. He who masters the details of the science of getting rich, and of the related sciences of being well, being great, and winning love, which I describe in other books, and who teaches that from the pulpit, will never lack a congregation. This is a gospel that the world needs. It will give increase of life, and people will listen to it gladly and give ample support to the person who brings it to them. What is needed now is a demonstration of the science of life from the pulpit. We want preachers who not only tell us the how, but who in their own persons show us the how. We need the preacher who himself becomes rich, healthy, great, and loved so that he may teach us how to attain these things. And when he comes, he will find numerous and faithful followers. The same is true for the teacher who can inspire children with the faith and purpose of the advancing life. He will never be out of a job. And any teacher who has this faith and purpose can give it to their pupils. They cannot help but give it to them if it is part of their own life and practice. What is true for a teacher, preacher, and doctor is true for the lawyer, dentist, real estate agent, insurance agent, for everyone. The combined mental and personal actions are infallible. They cannot fail. Every man and woman who follows these instructions firmly, to the letter, and with perseverance, will become rich. The law of the increase of life is as much a mathematical certainty in its operation as the law of gravity. Getting rich is an exact science. The wage earner will find this as true in his case as in that of the others mentioned here. Do not believe that you have no opportunity to become rich because you are working where there is no visible opportunity for advancement, where wages are low and the cost of living is high. Form your clear mental vision of what you want and begin to act with faith and purpose. Do all the work you can, all day, and do every part of the work in a perfectly successful way. Put the power of success and the purpose of becoming rich into everything you do. But do not do this only with the idea of looking good to your employer, in the hope that he or those above you will see your good work and progress. It is very likely that they will not see it. He who is just a good worker, occupying his place to the fullest with his ability, and who is satisfied with that, is valuable to his employer, and it is not in the boss's interest to promote him. He is more valuable where he is. To ensure advancement, something more is needed than being sufficient for your post. The person who will surely advance is the one who is too big for their post. who has a clear concept of what they want to be, who knows that they are going to become what they want to be, and who is determined to be what they want to be. Do not try to occupy your current post only with the perspective of pleasing your employer. Do it with the idea of advancing. Maintain the faith and purpose of increase during working hours, before and after work. Maintain it in such a way that everyone who comes into contact with you, boss, co-worker, or friend, will feel the power of purpose radiating from you, so that everyone perceives the sense of advancement and increase. People will be attracted to you, and if there is no possibility of advancement in your current job, you will soon see the opportunity to change jobs. There is a power that does not fail to present opportunities to the advancing personality who acts in obedience to the law. God cannot help but help you if you act in the certain way. You must do so to help yourself. Nothing in your circumstances or in the industrial situation can hold you down. If you cannot become rich working for the steel trusts, perhaps you can become rich working on a 10-acre farm. And if you begin to move in the certain way, you will surely escape from the claws of industry and start the farm or whatever you want to be in. If a few thousand of their employees entered into the certain way, the Steel Trust would be in serious trouble. It would have to give its employees more opportunities or get out of business. No one has to work for a large company. Large companies can keep people in what are known as desperate conditions, only as long as there are people ignorant of the science of getting rich or too intellectually lazy to practice it. Begin this way of thinking and acting, and your faith and purpose will make you agile and sensitive to see opportunities to improve your condition. Such opportunities will come quickly, because the Supreme, working in everything and working for you, will bring them before you. But do not expect an opportunity to come with everything you want it to be. When an opportunity presents itself to you to be more than you are at present, and you feel impelled toward it, take it. It will be the first step toward greater opportunities. For a person who is living a life of progress and advancement, there is no such thing as a lack of opportunities. It is part of the constitution of the world that all things are there for that person, work for their good, and cause them to become rich if they act and think in the certain way. So let the wage earners study this book carefully and enter with confidence into the course of action that it prescribes. It will not fail. Chapter 16. Some final cautions and observations. Many people will mock the idea that there is an exact science to getting rich. Because they believe that the supply of wealth is limited, they will insist that social and governmental institutions must change before a considerable number of people can even acquire that ability. But that is not true. It is true that there are governments that keep the masses in poverty, but this happens because the masses do not think or act in a certain way. If the masses were to begin to move forward as was suggested in this book, no government or industrial system could stop them. The systems would modify themselves to accommodate the forward movement. If people are of an advancing mindset, they have the faith that they can become rich, and they move forward with the fixed purpose of becoming rich. Nothing can keep them in poverty. Individuals can enter the certain way at any time and under any government and become rich. And when a considerable number of individuals do so, under any government, they will cause the system to modify itself to open the way for others. The more people who get rich on the competitive plane, the worse it is for others. The more people who get rich on the creative plane, the better it is for others. The economic salvation of the masses can only be achieved when a greater number of people practice the scientific method set forth in this book and become rich. This will show others the way and will inspire them with a desire for real life, with the faith that it can be achieved and with the purpose of achieving it. But for now, it is enough for you to know that no government, nor the capitalist and competitive system of industry, can prevent you from becoming rich. By entering the creative plane of thought, you will rise above all these things and you will become a citizen of another kingdom. But your thought must remain on the creative plane. Never, not for an instant, must you allow yourself to be deceived and believe that the source is limited or act on the moral level of competition. When you fall into these old ways of thinking, correct yourself immediately, because when you are in the competitive mind, you have lost the cooperation of the Supreme Mind. Do not spend time planning how you will face possible future emergencies, except to the extent that they affect your actions today. Be concerned with doing today's work in a perfectly successful way, and not with emergencies that might appear tomorrow. You will be able to take care of them as they appear. Do not worry about questions of how you will overcome obstacles that may threaten your business horizon unless you can clearly see that your course must be altered today to avoid them. No matter how tremendous an obstruction may seem in the distance, you will realize that if you continue in the certain way, it will disappear as you approach, or a path will appear over, under, through, or around it. No combination of circumstances can defeat a person who is getting rich along strictly scientific lines. No one who obeys the law can fail to become rich, just as they cannot fail to multiply 2 by 2 and get 4. Do not anxiously think about possible disasters, obstacles, fears, or combinations of unfavorable circumstances. You will have time to face them when they present themselves, for you will realize that every difficulty carries within it the means to overcome it. Watch your speech. Never speak of yourself, your business, or anything else in a disheartened or disheartening way. Never admit the possibility of failure, or speak in a way that insinuates failure as a possibility. Never say that times are hard, or that business conditions are uncertain. Times may be hard and business uncertain for those on the competitive plane, but never for you. You can create what you want, and you are above fear. When others go through difficult times and bad business, you will find the greatest opportunities. Get used to thinking and looking at the world as something developing, that is growing, and to see what seems bad only as something that has not yet developed. Always speak in terms of advancement. To do the opposite is to deny your faith, and to deny your faith is to lose it. Never allow yourself to feel disappointed. You may expect to have something at a given moment and not get it at that moment, and this will seem like a failure. But if you hold on to your faith, you will find that the failure is only apparent. Keep doing things in the certain way, and if you do not receive what you expected, you will receive something much better that will make you see that the apparent failure was in fact a great success. A student of this science set his mind on doing a certain business that seemed very attractive at the time, and he worked for weeks to consolidate it. When the crucial moment came, it failed inexplicably. It was as if a hidden influence had secretly worked against him. But he was not disappointed. On the contrary, he thanked God that his desire had been denied, and he continued firmly with a grateful mind. In a few weeks, a much better opportunity arrived, so much so that he would by no means have done the first business. And he saw that a mind that knew more than he had prevented him from losing the greater good by denying him the lesser. This is how every apparent failure will work for you. If you maintain your faith, hold on to your purpose, have gratitude, and do everything you can do that day, doing each separate act in a successful way. When you fail, it will be because you did not ask for enough. Go on, and something greater than what you were looking for will come to you. Always remember this. You will not fail because you lack the necessary talent to do what you desire. If you follow as I have told you, you will develop all the talent that is needed to do your work. This book does not deal with the science of cultivating talent, but it is as simple as the process of getting rich. Nevertheless, do not doubt or hesitate for fear that when you get to a certain place you will fail for lack of ability. Continue, and when you arrive at that place, the ability will be provided to you. The same source of ability that allowed the inexperienced Lincoln to do the greatest work of government ever performed by a single man is open to you. You can draw from there the wisdom to use in the responsibilities that have been entrusted to you. Go forward in full faith, study this book. Make it your constant companion until you have mastered all the ideas. While you establish yourself firmly in this faith, it will do you good to give up many recreations and pleasures and stay away from places where ideas that conflict with these are given in readings and sermons. Do not read pessimistic or conflicting literature or enter into arguments about the subject. Use your leisure time to contemplate your vision, cultivate gratitude, and read this book. It contains everything you need to know about the science of getting rich. You will find all the essentials summarized in the following chapter. Chapter 17. Summary of the Science of Getting Rich. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. In this substance, a thought produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in their thoughts, and by impressing their thought upon the formless substance, can cause the thing they thought of to be created. To do this, a person must move from the competitive mind to the creative mind. Otherwise, they cannot be in harmony with the formless intelligence, which is always creative and never competitive in spirit. We can enter into complete harmony with the formless substance by recreating a living and sincere gratitude for the blessings that are bestowed upon us. Gratitude unifies our mind with the intelligent substance, so that our thoughts are received by the formless. We can remain on the creative plane only by uniting with the intelligence through a deep and continuous feeling of gratitude. We must create a clear and definite mental image of the things we wish to have, do, or be, and hold this image in thought while deeply thanking the Supreme because all desires will be granted to us. The person who wishes to become rich must spend their leisure hours contemplating their vision and with a deep thankfulness that they will truly be given to them. Not enough emphasis can be placed on the importance of the frequent contemplation of the mental image united with an unwavering faith and devout gratitude. This is the process by which the impression is given to the formless and the creative forces are set in motion. The creative energy works through the established channels of natural growth and of industrial and social order. Everything that is included in this mental image will surely be brought to the person who follows the instructions given above, and whose faith does not waver. What they want will come to them through the established paths of industry and commerce. To receive what is theirs when it is ready to come to them, the person must be in action in a way that leads them to more than filling their current place. They must hold the purpose of getting rich through the realization of their mental image, and they must do every day all that can be done on that day, being careful to do each thing in a successful way. They must give to every person a use value that exceeds the monetary value they receive, so that every transaction creates more life, and maintain the thought of advancement so that the impression of growth is communicated to all with whom they come into contact. The men and women who practice the above instructions will certainly become rich, and the riches they receive will be in exact proportion to the definiteness of their vision, the fixedness of their purpose, the firmness of their faith, and the depth of their gratitude. You've completed a great journey. Congratulations on making it to the end. Here at Audio Libros, we're so glad you were a part of this story. If you enjoyed it, please give us a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It's the best way to show us you want to keep listening to more.